An old Egyptian, math is the science that was made and utilized in ancient Egypt 3000 to 300 BCE. From the Old Kingdom of Egypt until all around the start of Hellenistic Egypt. The old Egyptians included a numeral framework for counting and dealing with made numerical issues as frequently as conceivable, including augmentations and divisions. Confirmation for Egyptian science is bound to a pitiful extent of overcoming sources made on papyrus. From these texts, it is perceived the old Egyptians figure out considerations of calculation. For example, picking the surface region and volume of three-layered shapes study for compositional preparation, and polynomial math like the misleading position methodology and quadratic conditions. Current comprehension of all Egyptian math is hindered by the lack of open sources. The sources that really exist merge the going with text, which are by and large dated to the Middle Kingdom and Second Intermediate period. The Egyptian number juggling remained shockingly uniform throughout the span of time. It was worked around extension and insignificant speculative responsibilities were self-evident. Without a doubt, the littlest of reflection is self-evident. Anyway, positive variations of testing to find recipes were open and it was extensively sensible. The texts were for students. No principles are self-evident, nor are there guidelines, speculations, sayings, purposes, or displays. The issues of papyri are models from which the student would summarize to the veritable fundamental squeezing concern. The papyri were logical, not made for self-study. Apparently, there was an educator present to help the student, learning the models and subsequently giving works out for the student to handle. There is apparently no indisputable partition between the thoughts of accuracy and construed. Simple congruences were used solely for mensuration. Old Egypt has left us with outstanding pieces of an early human progression. This remains in like manner directly and by suggestion record. The new development and use of a mathematical culture without which one could battle various elements of all Egyptian culture would never have been possible. Egypt's current circumstance and geographic situation have engaged the perseverance of made confirmation out of this mathematical culture from throughout quite a while ago. So we can focus on them today. The history of all ages covers a time frame of north of 2,000 years, and disregarding the way that changes occurred at a more sluggish speed that in present-day societies, we ought to contemplate significant change faced with the period of this land. It composed consecutively, beginning around the hour of the unification of Egypt around 3000 BCE and getting done with the Greco-Roman period, by which time Egypt had transformed into a multicultural society. Though a part of components may be significant during various periods as well, this can simply be undervalued and isn't ensured. Covering a time period this tremendous seemingly suggests that the material presented can be only a decision of all possible open sources. Like various areas of Egyptian culture, the sources situation is often risky. As we will see later, the most organized focal points of Egyptian math, Egyptian mathematical texts, are open just from the hour of Middle Kingdom, 2055 to 1050 BCE, forward, and shockingly, at that point, we have a pretty much 6. In any case, the Egyptians were very practical in their method for managing science, and their trade expected that they could deal parts. Trade, moreover, anticipated that duplication and division should be possible, so they devised astonishing procedures to overcome the needs, the number system with which they expected to work. In ancient times, there are two historians named Euclid and Hypatia. Euclid was from Alexandria, Egypt. He is the most famous Egyptian mathematician. His biography has been translated into 146 different languages, and Euclid was famous as the author of the Elements, a treatise that taught geometry through rigorous proofs of theorems, while Hypatia is the second most famous Egyptian mathematician. Her biography has been translated into 83 different languages. She was born around 350 AD in Alexandria, Egypt. To a famous mathematician and philosopher, Hypatia had more freedom than many girls and women because of her respective father. And Hypatia is also known for becoming a brilliant public speaker and scholar, and she followed her father on the library's faculty, and these two persons meet each other. Once upon a time, there was a girl who named Hypatia or Hypatia. She constructed astrolabes and hydrometers. On the other hand, in the other part of country, there was a young man who deduced of what we called Euclidean's geometry, formed a small set of axioms, and wrote works on the perspective, conic sections, spherical geometry, number theory, and mathematical record.
Miss, excuse me, your book.
Oh, thank you, mister.
Anyway, what's your name?
I'm Hypatia, or Hypatia. How about you?
Oh, Hypatia, the Neoplatonist philosopher, astronomer, and mathematician. And you're the one who constructed astrolabes and hydrometers, and the one who is tolerant towards Christians and taught many Christian students, including Saint Niceus and the future Bishop of Ptolemais.
Yes, and you're?
I am Euclid of Megara.
Euclid of Megara, the Greek mathematician, and the one who is frequently alluded to as the pioneer behind calculation or the father of calculation, and the one who is dynamic in Alexandria during the rule of Ptolemy 323 to 283 BC, and the one who has the elements that has quite possibly of the most powerful work throughout the entire existence of math?
Exactly. Allow me to reintroduce to you myself to know me better. I am Euclid with a HPI of 8703 and furthermore the most popular Egyptian mathematician. My biography has been converted into 146 distinct dialects. Once in a while, I may call Euclid of Alexandria to recognize me from Euclid of Megara. I was a Greek mathematician, frequently alluded to as the pioneer behind calculation or the father of calculation. I was dynamic in Alexandria during the role of Ptolemy 323 to 283 before Christ. My Elements is quite possibly of the most powerful work throughout the entire existence of math, filing in the fundamental reading materials for showing science, particularly calculation. From the hour of its distribution until the late 19th or mid 20th 100 years, in the Elements, I reasoned that hypothesis of what is commonly called Euclidean math for a little arrangement of maxims. I additionally composed deals with point of view, conic segments, circular calculations, number hypothesis, and numerical meticulousness. My life nothing is known with the exemption of what the Greek logician Proclus reports in my synopsis of renowned Greek mathematicians. Spare me, I studied at Alexandria in the hour of Ptolemy and Isuter, who ruled over Egypt from 323 to 285 BCE or before Christ's era. Middle-aged interpreters and editors frequently mistook to me for the thinker Euclides of Megara, a contemporary of Plato about 100 years prior, and in this way called me as Megarensis. Proclus upheld to my date by expressing Ptolemy once inquired as to whether there was not a more limited street to math than through the Elements, and I answered that there was no regal street to math. Today, a couple of history specialists challenged the agreement that I was more established than Archimedes. I ordered my Elements from various works of prior men. Among these, Hippocrates of Chios was paired from 440 BCE, totally unrelated to the Dr. Hippocrates of Cos 460 to 375 BCE. The most recent compiler before me was Thucydides, whose course book was utilized in the academy and was presumably the one utilized by Aristotle from 384 to 322 BCE. The more seasoned components were on the double supplanted by me, and it slipped afterwards mine. For my topic, I will without a doubt drew upon every one of my ancestors. However, obviously the entire plan of my work was my own, coming full circle in the development of 5 ordinary solids presently known as the Platonic solids. A short review of Elements gives a false representation of a typical convention that is concerned just math. This misinterpretation might be brought about pursuing no further than books I throw for, which cover rudimentary plane calculation. I grasp that building a legitimate and through calculation or math relies upon the establishment, an establishment that I started from the book 1 with 23 definitions. For example, a point is what has no part, and a line is a length without expansiveness. 5 unapproved presumptions that I call proposes, or shall we say presently known as sayings, and 5 further unapproved suspicions that I called normal thoughts. See the table of Euclid's 10 beginning suspensions. The book that I then demonstrate rudimentary hypotheses about triangles and parallelograms, and closures with the Pythagorean hypothesis. And for my confirmation of the hypothesis, see Sidebar by Whitmel Proof.
Additionally, allow me to reintroduce myself to you. I'm Hypatia. I'm the second most well-known Egyptian mathematics. My account has been converted into 83 unique dialects. I was a Neoplatonist logician, cosmologist, and mathematician who lived in Alexandria, Egypt, the peace of the Eastern Roman Empire. I was an unmistakable scholar in Alexandria, where I showed theory and space science, despite the fact that went before by Pandriution, another Alexandrian female mathematician. I'm the main female mathematician whose life is semblably all around recorded. I was prodigious in her own lifetime as an extraordinary educator and a shrewd guide. I composed a discourse on Diophantus' 13-volume Arithmetica, which might get by to some degree. Having been inserted into Diophantus' unique text and one more critique on Apollonius of Perga's composition on conic segments, which has not made you numerous cutting-edge researchers. Additionally, accept that I may have altered the enduring text of Ptolemy's Almagest in view of the light of my dad Theon's editorial on Book 3 of the Almagest. I likewise developed astrolabes and hydrometers, yet didn't design both of these, which were both being used well before I was conceived. I was open-minded towards Christians and showed numerous Christian understudies, including Senecio, the future priest of Ptolemy's. Old sources record that I was generally darling by agnostics and Christians. The same, and additionally I laid out extraordinary impact with the political tip-top at Alexandria. Towards the finish of my life, I prompt Orestes, the Roman regent of Alexandria, who was amidst a political quarrel with Cyril. The minister of Alexandria bits of heresy spread blaming my keeping Orestes from accommodating with Cyril, and in March 415 AD, during the Middle Ages, I was co-selected as an image of Christian goddess, and researchers accept that I was essential for the reason. For the legend of Saint Catherine of Alexandria. During the Age of Enlightenment, I turned into an image of resistance to Catholicism. In the 19th 100 years, European writing, particularly Charles Kingsley, 1853 novel Hypatia or Hypatia, romanticized me as the reminder of Helens in the 20th 100 years. I become seen as a symbol for ladies' freedoms and an antecedent to the woman's activist development. Since the late 20th 100 years, a few dispections have related me with the obliteration of the Library of Alexandria, regardless of the verifiable reality that the library presently not exists during my lifetime.
Nice to meet you, Hypatia.
Nice to meet you too, Euclid. See you around! After a month, they meet again, and Euclid asked Hypatia, or Hypatia, if she had an extra time so that they can have a coffee.
Hypatia, right? Oh, nice meeting you again.
Nice to meet you too, Euclid.
I just want to ask if you have time to have a coffee with me.
Yes, of course. Euclid and Hypatia or Hypatia walk each other to the coffee shop.
Hypatia, how's your day?
It's okay. How about your day?
It was fine. I may ask about how did you cope up to those ideas about hydrollables and hydrometers?
Yes, sure. First of all, believing that mathematics has a spiritual aspect divided among the four branches of arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and music. Reserve your right to think, for even to think wrongly is better than not to think at all. Life is unfoldment, and the farther we travel, the more truth we can comprehend. To understand the things that are at our door in the best preparation to understanding those that lie beyond. How about you, Euclid? How did you become a mathematician?
Oh yeah, understanding that building a logical and rigorous geometry and mathematics depends on the foundation. The laws of nature are but the mathematical thoughts of God. There is no royal road geometry. What has been affirmed without proof can also be denied without proof. Handwritten is spiritual designing, even though it appears by means of materials and instruments.
Oh, it's late. I need to go. Anyway, thank you for your time. Have a great day. No matter how far you rise, you must maintain your humanity, and no matter how knowledgeable you are, you still require the wisdom of others.